Good afternoon. I'm Leon, and welcome to today's free online lesson by Acad Systems. I'm Leon from technical side from Acad System, and today the topic for free online lessons today is isometric drawing for an exploded assembly. So before we begin, let's just try and understand what exactly is isometric drawing. Okay, so isometric drawing is a way of presenting drawings in 3 dimensions. So you can imagine it as we are drawing a 3D object, but in a 2D space. So often we have to draw it at an angle over here, one sec. So often we have to draw it at an angle of 30-degree angle for the horizontal line. So usually, example for a normal square, we draw it just horizontal and vertical. But to make it 3-dimensional, our horizontal line have to drawn at 30-degree angle or maybe 150-degree angle. So it looks more extruding and make it look 3D. And with AutoCAD, there's actually a feature that allows you to draw it at a 30-degree angle without specifically inserting the angle. It makes our life easier with that tool. So for today's topic, I will talk about how to draw isometric drawings, and I'll also cover on isocircle, fillet, polygon, and how to do isometric dimension. And lastly is the exploded assembly in isometric. So the exploded assembly will look like this at the end, where all the parts, all this is drawn in 2D and nothing is in 3D lah. Okay, so now let's move to AutoCAD. So over here, I've already prepared a lot of my parts are all drawn properly. But right now, I'll use this as an example to demonstrate on how to draw isometric drawings. So usually, right now, my grid is already in isometric. Let me just turn it off first. Okay, so this is how your grid will look like normally for AutoCAD for 2D drawing. But there's this function where you can draw isometric drawing. So the settings is either you go down here at the bottom part here, there's an arrow, click on it and go to snap settings. So at this snap settings over here, it opens up the drafting settings window where under snap and grid tab, you can go into grid snap, isometric snap. So when you enable this, you basically you enter into isometric drawing space where you can draw at your lines at 30-degree angle very easily. So example, let me turn it on, isometric drawing. Okay, then you notice my grid has changed to a slanted one. So this is actually in isometric snap settings already. The other way of turning it on is using our command, which is using DS. So this opens up the drafting settings. One second. Let me just welcome everyone into the meeting. So welcome everyone to that have just joined just now. I'm Leon. So I'll continue on regarding this. So I was going through the settings to go into isometric drawing, which is using DS, one of the settings, using DS, the command, enter, and then you open up the drafting settings. So under snap and grid and snap type, turn on this isometric snap. So I'll just demonstrate again. If I go back to rectangular snap, this is our usual snap settings. And if I go into DS, isometric snaps settings, then you notice the grid has changed to a completely different plane. Currently, this is a isometric top plane. And the other way of turning on isometric drawing, there are actually 3. So one is just clicking on this snap settings. The second is using DS, going into the command to go into your drafting settings. Lastly, which is actually the quickest, the fastest way, is just click on this isometric drafting. When you click on it, you right away enter into it. So to turn it off, same thing, just click on it. So often this is the way how I would go into isometric drafting mode. So let me turn it on right now. And once you turn it on, there are also few other things where like when you click on the arrow right next to the isometric drafting, there are isoplane left, isoplane top, and isoplane right. So this determines basically if you look at this my diagram, my parts right here, isometric drawing, you're drawing a three-dimensional 3D object basically. So you'll be drawing the top face, the left face, and the right face. So that makes it 3D. So example over here, this part is the left plane where I'll be drawing using left plane on the left plane. And then over here is the right, and on top of this whole block is the top plane. Okay, so the other thing, other than just entering into isometric drafting mode, is in isometric, you have to turn on this ortho mode. So let me demonstrate to you. If that is not turned on, when I draw my line, it does not step onto anything. Currently, I'm in polar mode. Let me just turn it off to demonstrate properly. Okay, so when I turn on this auto mode, you notice my line is actually snapped onto the grid. And right now it is 150 degree. And when I go to the right over here, it's 30 degree. So this isometric drafting mode just makes our life easier, where usually what we have to do if we want to draw isometric drawing is the conventional way, the old way of people drawing using hand is they have to use the triangle ruler to measure the 30-degree angle. Or if you use AutoCAD without this function, then you probably have to enter the distance and then input the degree. So it basically is a life-saving, simplify everything down to just how you would usually draw. So right now, let me demonstrate with just drawing this base right now. So I have to turn on this auto mode. And then if I were to draw this base, I'll just look at the dimension. So I start with drawing a line. Currently, I'm in the top plane. So I'll just draw this rectangular box first, which has 120 and 72. Okay. So just input 120, enter. 72, enter. And similarly, just repeat for it and then snap onto the endpoint. So we have a isometric rectangle right now. And then I'll make it solid by drawing on the left plane right now. So moving on to the left plane, it has a thickness of 10. So draw downwards by 10. And when you go to the right side, you notice I'm actually on the right plane, and you'll just snap properly for me. 72, and similarly just snap. So last part, which is over here, the right plane. Just go to ISO plane right and repeat the steps. 120 and snap onto the top. So maybe some of you are questioning, there is this function which is called rectangle. Why do I not use it? So one thing you have to know is in isometric, you are not able to use any of these functions whereby rectangle, circles, you are not able to use. The reason why is, let me just demonstrate to you. It's easier to understand. So when I click on this rectangle, right now my plane is on isoplane right, correct? But when I draw my rectangle, do you notice it's actually snap onto the normal 2D drafting mode instead of our isoplane right? So that is the main reason why. So continue on. I'll go back and finish this sketch. So I'll just continue finishing the bottom part here, which is 120, snap onto the top, and then go to isoplane left. And one shortcut to change your plane is actually clicking on the F5 button on your keyboard. If I click, you notice it changes the plane to the left. If I click, isoplane top. So this is the fast way. And for auto mode, it's actually F8, you can see. So make sure this is turned on and you can quickly swap around your plane using F5 button on your keyboard. So continue on. So this is my rectangular box. that I've created for my base. So moving on, I'll continue, which is sketching this top part over here, which has a dimension of 35. Right? So right now I'm in iso plane left. I want to change it to iso plane top to draw my construction line actually. So 35, enter. And then I have to go to isoplane left to draw this angle to elevate the part. So over here, it has, okay, one thing to note here, on this dimension, it doesn't mention about the length, the height, but we can calculate it out from ourselves. Basically, 10 minus 3, you know it is 3. 3, and just continue on. It has a dimension of 50. Continue. This is 72. And then one thing, usually when we draw in 2D mode, you have a line you have a snap mode on, which is for perpendicular. So let me turn all of this on first. You have a perpendicular snap option, which is over here. But in isometric, it is actually not perpendicular. Even for the nearest, try to not use it. Actually, you see, if it's nearest, I try to snap it for you to demonstrate. My line actually went slanted instead of straight vertically. So to do that, you actually have to overextend your line and then trim it at the end. So right now I overextended it and then use trim function TR and trim it at the bottom. So that's how to draw and snap for isometric. It has a length of 72, sorry, 72, and then similarly overextend it, trim it off, and continue with the other line. So often you actually do not have to figure out which plane I have to draw on, but because you can just switch around your plane and then eventually you find a plane that is suitable for your drawings. Like actually just what I did over there just now. I do not know, I just change. Right now it's on the left. Even if I'm on the right plane, I can also just draw straight down, which I'm able to achieve my desire. Like I'm able to draw the straight line down. So right now the base has been completed. The top part is done. So over here at the bottom, if you notice, it has a 3-dimension. It's a Pythagoras theorem. This is a hypotenuse. So 3 and 3. So over here, I'll just draw some sketches out. So from this bottom part, it elevates, it goes up by 3 and goes to the left by 3. So I have to change my plane and import 3. Then once that's done, I can actually just snap onto the endpoint of the construction line that I've drawn just now. Similarly, on the opposite end, they are both 3, 3. So I'll just repeat. Or you can even use a mirror to do it as well. But for right now, I'll just demonstrate using the longer way of doing it. 3 and 3. And then join them together. Endpoint to endpoint. So once that's all done, you can just trim it all off. Trim all your construction lines off. And then join them both together. So over here, the line disappeared. Could have not been intersected correctly just now. Or we can just correct it. And the overall shape are done. But actually in isometric drawing, you're only looking at it from the top right view. And then those hidden lines like this over here, it should be deleted. But right now I wouldn't delete it because I need it as a reference for my circles and for my fillet, isometric fillet. But the overall shape of my base is out. I just need to tidy it up and draw some isometric circle and also the fillet as well. So right now, let me just trim it up, clean it a little bit more. Lines that I do not need. So here, here, and over here. And this line is not needed as well. So this is the overall shape. So right now, moving on to isometric circle. Isometric circle, similar to rectangle, I'm not able to use the circle function from AutoCAD itself. So similarly, demonstrating it to you, I'm not able to. It is not snapped onto the plane. So to do that, to draw a circle in isometric, what you need to do is go to this ellipses, click on the arrow and select axis end. Use this axis end feature, and at the bottom here, select isometric circle. So as the name suggests, this is the proper function to draw an isometric circle. So once you have entered these settings, it's basically the same as how you normally would draw a circle. Specify the center of the circle and draw. So right now you notice my circle is actually snapped onto the plane correctly. So if I were to change my plane, you notice right now it's snapped onto the left plane. And if I click on F5 again, and then it will snap onto the top plane. It's just that. So right now, my circle has a radius of 5. But I do not know where is the center point of my radius, my circle. But generally, if there is a radius, a fillet, it shares the same middle point. So the fillet has a radius of 12, meaning say it's from the corner 12 to 12. So just to demonstrate, I basically just need to draw a construction line of 12 and up in the middle 12. So this is the center line. This endpoint here of this line is the center point of the circle. So similarly, I'll just draw all the endpoints for the circle on all 4 corners. Just repeating it. 12, 12. Sorry. 12 and then 12. So right now I've drawn the construction line for the center point of my circle. Go back into axis end. Click on I, type on I on your keyboard for going into iso circle, or click on the button at the bottom just now. Specify the center. So these are my center and radius of 5. Enter. So the circle is done. So after that, I wouldn't go back into the ellipse settings and using the iso circle. Instead, I will use copy function. Select this as my object, which is the circle. And the base one, I will select all the center point and just snap them onto the endpoint of the construction line that I've created. So once that's done, I can actually just delete off all the lines that I've drawn. Like just like this over here. Delete. And then next is the fillet. Fillet, it is also similar. I'm not able to use the conventional fillet function. So when I use the fillet function, if you notice, this is radius 12. Okay, so let me specify the radius at the bottom here. 12, enter. First line and second line. Does this look like radius 12 to you? It looks more like a radius of 5 to me, which is very similar to the circles in the middle. So it is not able to use this fillet, it is inaccurate. And the proper way of doing isometric fillet is similar, using isometric circle in axis end, ellipses here, iso circle, and here, let me just demonstrate, radius of 12. So this is the proper isometric fillet. So basically you just draw a circle and then fillet it later on. So let me just undo it. Just delete the fillet on that part just now. So let me just repeat this. Isometric circle, select the center point and specify the radius, which is 12. Enter. So similarly on this side, I'll just use copy function, CO. Enter. Select this as my base point and just paste on all the other center point of my circle. So once that's done, you can just tidy it up, trim and all. But one more thing is fillet, there's a bottom part as well. So what I would do is actually, that's why I left all of this line as my references. I will copy all the outer circle over here, select them all, and then use the copy function. So this time the base point, instead of selecting the center point of the circle, I'm using the top endpoint of my length. So I select that and move down, snap onto the bottom endpoint. And once that's done, you'll notice all of this is actually moved down and snapped properly. And actually on this corner over here, the bottom part is not necessary as it cannot be seen. So that's basically done for the bases, for the base. I just need to tidy it up by using trim function, trim all these edges off. Even the bottom line over here, just trim it off, delete it. Oh, my bad. Let me just undo it. Often it's best to trim the the inside first, which is over here, so that it has a reference of what I want to trim. Same here. Do that part. Over here, I can delete all. So make sure you zoom in and make sure there are no other small edges that are hiding. So same for all these other sides here. Trim it off. Trim, trim, trim. So if you know right now, okay, all these are done, right? Just make sure it has no small triangular, because of the way it intersects. That's why it's creating small little sharp edges like just now if you notice it. So same on all four corners, I'll just trim it off. Or actually certain points you can just use the delete functions. So like example, this whole line is not needed anymore. You can just click on the delete button as well. So trim. Trim here and zoom in. You notice there are still small little edges here. Oh, I over trimmed it. So again, trim all this part off. Here, here, here. Over here as well. And I'll leave this for the time being because it's still part of the circle and it can be seen actually. So when you have deleted all the extra lines, all your construction lines that are not supposed to be there after fillet, you can go back into line and draw one straight line down from the end point of the arc of your fillet actually, and snap onto the next endpoint, the bottom endpoint. So this is to show or demonstrate that it is actually a fillet. And often over here on the corner, I'll select the quadrant and snap onto the next quadrant. And over here, I just have to continue and trim it up, trim it on the hidden edge there. But for this side here, it's just endpoint to endpoint and then endpoint to endpoint. So there are certain cases, I'll demonstrate to you on this side. There are certain cases when you, example right now, I cannot find my endpoint. So I can do this by shift right click and select endpoint as my snap option. And I selected midpoint, again, endpoint. Look for the endpoint, it's only gonna look for your endpoint instead. So endpoint to endpoint, and for this part will be from quadrant. Like right now, I couldn't find my quadrant. Oh, I found it. So you can use that function, shift right click to use that feature, then trim it off. And the base is done. So other than this, we have from this isometric drawing, we have covered how to draw isometric drawing, how to draw isometric circle, and how to draw isometric fillet. So moving on is how to do dimensioning in isometric. So usually we would use linear for our 2D drawing. But on this side, since all lines are in the 30-degree angle, use these align features instead. So using align, when I measure this distance, for example, you notice it is actually not aligned with my drawing at all. To do that, go to annotate part over here, and under dimension, click, select oblique. So oblique, once you click into that, select the object, which is our dimension, enter, and the oblique angle, most of the time, is basically just meaning which direction I want to point towards. So often I'll just use all my drawings as a reference. So right now I click on one of the base point and just drag along the drawings to show. So you snap and align with the flat with the drawings. So if I repeat, align over here, probably I want to measure from here to here, it's 10. And go back into dimension here, oblique, select object, enter oblique angle, select one base point and snap along it. But for circles, you are not able to measure directly with all these radius features because it is not a circle, it is an ellipse. So you can only use a leader to annotate your circle's dimension and have to key in by yourself, example. So this is the way to do it. So moving on to bold is over here, dimension has been taught. And lastly is how to draw a isometric polygon actually. So there is no quick and easy way to draw a polygon in isometric. But to draw it, you have to go into your normal rectangular snap first. So right now I go into DS snap, rectangular snap, click on OK, and use this polygon function over here. The number of sides here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a hexagon. So 6 sides, center point of polygon, and use circumscribe about circle. So right now it has a radius of 7.5 and enter. So the actual way of drawing an isometric polygon is actually drawing a polygon first in rectangular snap in your 2D drawing. And then right now, I will demonstrate to you by drawing multiple lines along it. Oops, it is not straight. I have to turn on my auto mode. So I have to draw all this line. Let's draw it all. Once it's done, I will just trim all the excess lines on the outer side. And then use the dimension function to get all the measurements out. So example here is 4.33, opposite here is also 4.33, and over here is 7.5. So after this is done, basically go back into isometric drawing and then use this as your reference. So I have to start by, right now I want to draw on the top plane. And basically, you just have to draw the rectangular box first. So example right now, 7.5, enter, and then another 7.5. So I'm just making a lot of lines, and then at the end of the day, I'll just connect all the lines together, the endpoints to endpoint, to sketch out the polygon. So 8.66, 4.33, enter, 7.5, again 7.5, and over here I still have to key in manually instead of snapping because I want all the endpoint as my references. So just the last one you can snap. Okay, so right now I've drawn the rectangle. I just have to look for specifically the endpoint and connect to my next endpoint. Just mimic out the shape of your hexagon. And that's the way of how to draw an isometric polygon. So right now I'll just similarly trim it all off, and There's also hidden lines inside that are duplicated. So this is done. That's how you draw a polygon. So over here, I just copy and then move my function here down. Sorry, move my polygon down by 5 over here. It is not mentioned, so I'll just put in a 5. But generally, to draw a polygon, this is the way to use it. Have to draw it one by one, and then just using the endpoints to endpoint to sketch out the overall shape of the polygon. So right now, I just look for the middle point of it, of my polygon, which is over here, and draw a circle using the same function axis and isocircle. Specify the center over here, change to top plane and radius 5, enter. So I have the circle in the middle, and then I will just seam copy this circle from the midpoint. I'll draw downwards length of 20. So when that's done, this can be trimmed off as well. Trim off, trim off, trim off, example, because it is not seen. And this is actually just a hidden line, it's underneath it. So I'll just change it into a hidden line. Just change the scale smaller a little bit. My scale 0.05. Is that? Yep. Okay, it works. So right now it's done. So basically, I just need to draw the threads. Similarly, look for the quadrant, just like your fillet. Connect to the top part here. Quadrant, connect to the top part here. I'll trim this off and this part over here. And right now, I'll just use this array the rectangular array functions if you have used before. Rectangular array functions, I only have one column and I want the total distance row to be 20 rows and the total distance is 20. So basically this means that every 1 meter, 1 mm, there's one thread. I wouldn't go too deep into this topic over here on the arrays because, oh, one more thing is make sure my array is non-associative so that I'm able to do changes. So select object, one column, and then over here 20, 20, and turn off this associative so I can edit and trim off my lines that I do not need to use actually. So that's done for the boat, except for the hidden line here, which I've accidentally deleted. So let's go back again using trim off all these parts, trim off all these parts. So your boat is done using rectangular array and using sketching out the outer line of your polygon to draw an isometric polygon. So lastly, we'll be moving on to how to arrange all these components into an exploded assembly drawing. So right now I'll close off all these files. So I open up a new drawing here. Okay, so right now it's a new drawing and use this function xref. If you are familiar with this, it's basically just taking files that I've drawn previously. Like if you look on top, I have actually different save files like shaft, bracket, left, right, bush, left, right, roller, and etc. So xref basically just import all of these files into one drawing. So to do that, again, use this function xref, and then you open up this menu, this window over here, attach drawing on the top left corner, and locate where all your files are at. So I'll just locate my files. I'll just import all of them in, both here, push right, roller, and shaft. All these drawings are part of the assembly. And then click on OK. or one more thing is usually there's an insertion point if you insert one by one, which is actually recommended. But for now, I'll just be quicker using import all of them at once. So right now it is all out of place because I import them all at once. So example, right now I just move them accordingly to each other. Just move it around the same area. So right now, I'm also in rectangular snap. So I just have to enable going back into isometric drawing by just clicking on this button, which is the quickest way. So I will need to draw a construction line to demonstrate where all the assembly will go into. So over here, I'll just use one of the layers that I've created. Oh, not able to. Okay, so I'll just use a normal line to demonstrate. Draw one straight line first, turn on auto mode. This is our reference line for our parts to be snapped onto. And basically it's just moving your objects and selecting the base point. Example, this is a belt roller and all of these brackets, the holes, they will enter into the shaft over here. So I will use this middle line here as the movement where they will explode out from the middle. So I will use this as the hole as my base point and snap onto the reference line that I've just created. So similar on this side here, this is the base point and move it over here. And then next will be the shaft. So similar, this is my base point, the center of the shaft circle. And next will be the roller. Selecting the center, snap onto my reference line. Same goes for this side, opposite, the right hand one. Snap here, and then here as well. So you notice all of them are aligned on this middle line here, their circle. And the base here, we can just move it accordingly. It doesn't have to be very specific. So I'll turn off my ortho mode for now. And then all this bolt can just move closer to it. And over here, I also need to create a few reference line from all these holes where all the bolts will enter through. So F5 and drag out about, let's say, 240 mm. Then I'll copy all this line. And this as my base point, paste, paste, and paste. Okay, so same for this bolt. Using copy function, I'll use this middle hole as my base point, and then just paste all of them onto the reference line that I've just created. And right now, I'll turn off all of the drawings to demonstrate, to show it to you. Easier for you to view the exploded assembly. So once that's done, I can just shorten the length of my line. And that's all for assembly drawing. And that is all for today's free online lesson. And moving on, I just want to show it to you, which is make sure you go to our Acad system website, acadsystems.com. And over here, we often have our latest promotion of our products and news regarding Autodesk softwares as well. And on the bottom here, when you scroll down, there are also free online lessons topics. Like right now, I'm going through isometric drawing exploded assembly. For 22nd of December, we have corridor widening in Autodesk Civil 3D. So this is good for those that are in architecture field. So make sure you attend, click into it, and reserve your seat. So if you scroll to the bottom here, we have this YouTube page. Click on it, and then make sure you go to subscribe and click on the bell icon. We provide a lot of free online lessons on how to example over here, there are AutoCAD Plant 3D platform modeling tutorial as well. So make sure to follow it and subscribe, and make sure to click on the bell icon. And that's all for today. If there's no question, we can end over here. Thank you.